Welcome, 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 welcome in, my beautiful family. We're here with another episode of Real Talk with Charline. I'm actually thinking about calling it Honest Talk with Charline, but I don't know yet. We'll take a vote on it. How you doing? How you feeling? Welcome in. Take a deep breath. Come into the space with a loving vibration, open mind. Tonight's episode is all about communication. You know, we've been talking a lot about marriage and relationship, how to make it work, because we're tired of seeing divorce and broken hearts around the world. And one of the things that we can do to help to avoid a downfall in our relationship is to communicate effectively. Now, do I know how to communicate effectively? Sometimes, but you know what? That's not my expertise. It's not my area of expertise. So I brought on an expert tonight that is perfect for this particular episode. She helps couples to communicate effectively, communicate with love to improve their relationship. So if you're married, or you're thinking about getting married, or you're in a serious relationship, or you just want to learn different ways to communicate well, improve your communication skills, this is the episode for you. I invite you right now to like this and to share it out so that we can get this message out there into the world. The better we can communicate, the better our lives will be. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to help me to welcome my beautiful sister, Renee, who is a relationship coach. And I'm going to let her tell you all about herself, what she does. All her contact information is already in the description section. But I'm going to allow her to come up on the platform and tell you a little bit about herself. And then we'll get into all about communication and how to make this thing work right. So let's welcome Renee. Welcome, 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 sis. So good to have you. How you doing tonight? Thank you. Thank you so much for being here with us. I am honored to have you. You're such a blessing. Say that again?
You are most welcome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, truly my pleasure. You honor me with your presence. Truly. I was just so grateful when you said yes, because I know this space needs what you share. I was just so grateful when I came across you and I saw what you can do. I'm like, the universe brought me to this system because it's just what I was looking for. So thank you, Divine Creator, for bringing us together and for making this happen. So please just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, who you are, what you be, how we can contact you, and your expertise, and then we'll jump into things.
Absolutely.
I'll give you the spotlight, okay?
So, greetings, everyone. My name is Renee Miller, and I'm the of love. Essentially, love can guide African Americans through our 7 factors of love. We essentially help individuals create healthy, fulfilling, because we believe that when and loving, the couple is fulfilling love. So it's love and one of our 7. So thanks for having me.
Hold on. I'm thinking I didn't hear you well, so I just want to make sure. I sent a message to the chat. I just want to make sure everyone heard all of what you said. So in the chat, were you able to hear her clearly? Do you know what she's all about? Welcome in, everyone. I see King K in the house. Love is the answer. My second channel, guys, make sure you connect with Conscious Business Services and Opportunities. That's all about entrepreneurship, developing a wealth mindset, and just being spiritual with your wealth. Cool gamer, angel light over darkness. King K, hello, my beautiful darlings. Please make sure you share this out. We need to communicate better in this community. Okay, so they weren't able to hear you. Okay, so you know what? I'll stay on with you. Maybe it makes a difference. So go ahead and just say that one more time. I'm so sorry. I don't know why it didn't come through.
No, that's okay. Can you hear me now?
Clear as crystal.
Okay, so that's fine. The second time's a charm. I'm totally okay with it. Good evening, everyone. My name is Renee Miller, and I am the founder of the Love Camp, and I'm a lover of love. And essentially, the Love Camp guides African Americans through the 7 factors of love so that we can create healthy, sustainable, fulfilling, and magical relationships. And we do that through courses, panel discussions, retreats, but we're just super excited about bringing more love in our communities so that we can have healthy love.
Now that is incredible. My heart is like, oh my God, Love Camp. By the way, my husband and I will be coming to one of your Love Camps because this is something that I have been desiring, and it's something that I could see myself being a big part of. So I'm all about it.
We welcome you. We welcome you. We're excited. Yes. We can't do this work without our community. We say that literally. Like we also certify coaches because we want more love coaches out there because we can't do it on our own. So.
Oh, wow. So we'll definitely have to come back and talk about that. Maybe on the other channel, I'll talk about the business side of this because, hey, okay. Mm-hmm. So what are some things that happens in a relationship? Like I personally know communication is a big thing, and I've spoken to quite a few people that say the same thing. Communication, they're not getting their husband to listen or their wife to listen, or maybe they're speaking and someone is not listening because they're both speaking. Like, what are some things that come up with this communication issue? And then we're going to talk about how to effectively communicate.
Yeah, I definitely think people communicate ineffectively because one, our communication styles may be different. If we don't understand how one receives information or what they need to be able to take information in right away, we're starting at a deficit. So I think being able to understand how our partners function and how they receive information is really critical. But I think another huge one that happens is when we're conversing, particularly if there's something that's a sensitive topic, we don't always make it safe for our partner. And all of us want to feel safe without judgment, accusations, attack. You know, we want to feel like we can be able to express ourselves and it feels safe. Those are the 2 biggest things that I've seen in communication. But I also think that the last one that really stands out to me is when individuals are talking, their interpretation is different. Like you ever had someone you're talking to and you met one thing and your partner heard something totally different because we have our own interpretations. We have our own context about words. And all of that is going into our systems as we're taking in what we call communication. So those are just a few things. I have so many because we're constantly talking about how do we get stronger to be able to hear and see each other? How do we do that?
Yeah, I totally get that. And, you know, it depends on the culture as well, because I told people before, we have to become aware that we have different cultures. And even within the same cultures, there's subcultures because
it's true.
Everyone is so different. Sometimes it's like, oh my God, how do we get along if we're all so different and so unique? It really just brings you to a space of just being loving and allowing, you know, it really
I love that. I love I gotta tell you, I love your joy energy. I love it from day one. It is so much joy and light and love coming through from you. And that, you know, we need that. We need that energy to show up in our communication as well. You know, even with serious topics, we don't have to be difficult. We can be light and love energy and still get what we need accomplished.
I am so glad you said that, because one of the things that I kind of advocate for is just communicate lovingly.
Mm-hmm.
Because I realized, and I check back to my own childhood, and I realized a lot of things were rough. Like, people would communicate roughly, and it would make you feel like, oh my God, you want to cringe. But
Right.
when you boil it down to the simplest formula, it's like, really, I could have said that in a much nicer way. So I'm always consciously trying to do things or say things in a loving way. Sometimes I hear my parents' voice in me being gruff, and I would notice it, and then I would correct it and
Yeah.
soften it. And my mom tells me I'm too soft with my children, but I've got to be me and do what feels right for me.
Yeah.
But
And I
loving,
agree. I
yeah,
agree. I think there's room for us to be more loving in our expression. Uh, Quite a few of my male friends say that I can slice and dice a man, and I do it with such love that they get the accountability they need,
hmm
and they feel sliced and diced with love. It's a fascinating. Like, they will be accountable, and they'll be like, I just came out of a fight, and they don't realize they down the street and that they was in a fight with me, and they were like, wait, she got me, because I'm always trying to do it so in such a way where accountability exists, but I'm
hmm
mindful of my energy, and I'm mindful of my tone, and I'm mindful that I'm giving love energy in spite of holding people accountable.
yeah, I think that's powerful. It really is. Like, love truly is so powerful. You can do things with such love that
Mhm.
no one has to feel horrible about
Yeah.
you. Well, I don't want to say demanding them, but when
Hmm.
that love comes out and it's just so clear and it comes in such a soft way, it's just so powerful. You really don't have to stress. I don't even know how to explain that, but I'm feeling it as I'm talking about it. But
Hmm.
listen, I want you to take charge and just share some of the things that you would like to share on this platform. And
Sure.
as far as ways to communicate, I don't want to like interject and kind of like ask questions only when I feel to, because I know you have so much to give in like showing us the art of communication. So I don't want to be a blockage and having like a Q&A, because it's not. It's just really you sharing and me piggybacking and kind of like tapping in and asking, oh, well, how this or how that. But I
Yeah.
really just want this to be your stage and for you to share, maybe a session in communication. Would you like me to give you like maybe a marital situation to go off of, or
Yeah. Well, I think I'm open. What I was thinking to do was definitely give some tips and some strategies. But I think we can make it fun, especially if you think of different scenarios that are specific. I know I'm going to share some of my scenarios. I just had a crazy communication blunder this morning, and it was so perfect. I said, "Oh, no,
wow.
today I'm going to share it because we need to be able to be transparent. And if my story can share with someone else, and it's not a deep story, but it's a very common thing, I think. So I just
Okay.
start off by sharing that, and then we can just kind of evolve and flow. I'm very open, but I know I wanted to give some tips and strategies today.
Okay, that sounds good. And my family in the chat that are here live, you can definitely chime in. If you have a real situation or something you know of where there might have been like a communication situation in your relationship, feel free to share, and we can tap into it. All
Mhm.
right, so we can start with your experience this morning. I'm so excited. I'm so nosy right now.
Yes, and it's so perfect. So this morning I was on the phone. Me and my love, we work out together. And so I needed to contact the tonal store. And so long story short, I contact tonal. And when I was on the phone, I was texting him at the same time, asking him some questions. And the questions I was asking him are very like sensitive questions. If you talk about money, if you talk about things that kind of are trigger points, you're running the risk of it being difficult. So you don't text sensitive conversations because you're always going to have potentially a misinterpretation, potentially being triggered by something. And so I text like this whole thing when I was talking about money earlier today. And the conversation, it didn't go left because we're very loving with each other, but it definitely got a little intense. And
Hmm.
I thought to myself midway through, I said, you know what? You know better than to text sensitive conversations. And when I say sensitive, it depends on what each person has in their background story. Me personally, I have to constantly work through my own conversation about money because I grew up very poor and super proud of my accomplishments, but I have to be very sensitive to not go extra.
Gotcha.
And so that for me this morning was really powerful because I thought to myself, here we are texting and talking via the text when we really should be talking about this face to face. So no one feels offended. No one's upset. And again, we're very loving to each other. So it wasn't like a 10 situation. It was probably like a 4, maybe a 3, but it was still sensitive topic. So I would say number one, do not text. We've made the mistake of becoming a text society, trying to have meaningful conversations via text. It's not a replacement for a voice. It's not a replacement for looking at someone's face and eyes and seeing their body language. And so that was for me a huge reminder today. So that's my first tip. Don't text deep, long conversations on the phone. Because
I totally agree. I can't tell you how many times I've ran into that situation where I text something and I totally meant something. And this is not even just a romantic relationship. I totally meant something else. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And depending on the culture, people get offended so easily. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I really didn't mean it that way. So, we really have to work better on saying what we mean and really breaking it down so people could understand. And when I'm doing my videos and stuff, I sometimes go the extra mile to say, okay, and when I say this is what I mean, or this is why I say this. And even then, there's still room for misinterpretation. It just happens.
Yeah, it is very true.
It happens. Yeah.
Very true.
So, let's say, for example, well, there's this couple I know. I'm not going to call names, but communication. Do men and women communicate differently? In my opinion, yes. But like from your professional standpoint, like the male brain and the female brain, like how do you get your husband to really hear you, listen to you, and vice versa? How do you get
a couple of things? So I have great male clients, but I also have male friends, and I ask them on a regular basis. So men are very logical in many ways. So what happens sometimes is females, we can talk around a thing sometimes, and the man is looking for what the request is. They're looking for what is it you want, either to solve it or to be clear so they don't have to guess where you're coming from. And oftentimes we don't know how to ask in a logical, direct way. Like men are very straightforward. And so they want you to tell them what it is that you're asking for. And we as women think they should know. And we as they know what we're talking about. And then we get offended when they don't know because we're like, I was plain, it was clear. What are you talking about? But men are listening for the logic. They're listening for what is it you need? Tell me directly what you need so I can solve it and I can give it to you, or we can talk about it. So I always tell women, be direct, because that's what men are looking for and that's what they're expecting. If we're beating around the bush, if we're trying to get them to guess, if we're trying to get them to figure out the lane we're coming from, sometimes, and that frustrates them because also they oftentimes keep one thought process in their mind. They're trying to be on one lane. If you give them too much at one time, they're frustrated.
Oh my God. As you're saying this, I'm hearing me and my husband. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I remember when my babies were younger and we used to have to dress them and we're getting ready. I was thinking, okay, he'll see me doing this and that and he'll help out. And then one day I decide, okay, what's up? Why aren't you helping? He's like, you didn't ask. And I'm like, you mean I have to ask? In my mind, I'm thinking, you see this happening?
You should just know. I need to know.
Yeah. So it made it clear to me that, okay, he desires direct communication. Just say what you want, and that's it. So that's why I'm laughing in the background, because you're so spot on. He's like, I don't think like that. You just have to tell me what you want.
Right.
And it just opened up my mind to the way he communicates. I can't say men because I can't speak for all men, but just be direct, say what you want, and it's that simple. And from that point on, I didn't have to go around like, oh my God, why isn't he helping? Because sometimes we stay in our own energy, like, oh, I can't believe he's not helping me. But honey, you didn't ask, because I'm thinking he's just gonna help me without me asking. Oh my God. So my brother in the chat is saying communication is the key that gives us instant access to a place called heaven on earth. Oh my God, that was beautifully said. Perfect communication, effective communication. And you're right. I found heaven that day because I didn't stress about stuff after in that regards. And every day I'm learning, you really got to tune into your partner and don't generalize things because every relationship is different. Don't try to copy anybody. You can learn from others, but understand you and your person, there's no other like it. It's unique.
Yeah.
It's so unique.
You made me think about something. You know what else I found is really huge? That we have to also understand when we're communicating with our partner what our partner's triggers are. Because sometimes we don't know all the time the backdrop of our partner's context about stuff. Until we study them and pay attention and understand what their triggers are. And so for women, there may be one trigger. For men, it may be a different trigger. And vice versa. I mean, it just depends on what their life experience could be. So it could be, for example, I have a friend that does not like a lot of questions asked. So her context is, don't ask me a lot of questions, because she grew up feeling like she didn't always have the answers. But if a man was approaching her and he didn't understand that, and he's trying to get to know her and he's trying to, really have a thorough communication, it could be interpreted as she's defensive, she's difficult to talk to. And so sometimes when I'm talking to her, I may say, well, just help them to understand where you're coming from. What is it about questions that trigger you? Is it a tone? Is it a series of questions? Is it types of questions? Just so that when they're communicating, they're on the same page of what triggers them. Some people can't talk about money, like I said earlier. Some people feel uncomfortable talking about their feelings, being vulnerable. So all of these factors affect how effective communication will be.
That is so true. I mean, oh my gosh. I'm just wondering what made her that sensitive to questions. Maybe something she went through, because sometimes we get stuck in different personality based on what we've been through in the past, some kind of trauma or just something she didn't like that was unpleasant. But yeah, and I love that advice you give. Just, let them know you're not okay with this. Maybe one day you might be, but right now, especially if you're getting to know someone, it's just a no. But hey.
Or maybe they can ask questions, but just help them to understand that, give me space so that I can answer them. Because I also have a client who communication, when they're, with their partner, they want to know a gazillion things and they hit them with a lot of questions at one time. That's also is a trigger. And oftentimes that's a trigger for men. They don't want to feel like I've had men say, I don't want to feel like I'm on an inquisition, like I'm, being on a stand somewhere, so different people have different means. And I would say, make sure you give time to ask your partner, what's their communication style? Like, what do you need when we're talking? Because the more you understand that, the more it can be a safe space to really open up.
That is true. So for some of us that don't understand what you mean when you say communication style, can you go a little deeper into that? What do you mean when you say, what's your communication style?
Sure. Like some people, they want to converse where, maybe they need a certain environment. Like some people's communication style is that I can't be in a crowded location. I need privacy. Keep getting messages. Or some people's communication style might be the type of messaging that's given. So when I say communication style, I mean what do you need when you're communicating? When we're communicating and connecting together, what is your method of communicating that makes you feel most effective?
Okay. Okay, we can dig that. Um, Everyone in the chat, if you have any questions, we'll get to that in just a few moments before we take a quick commercial break. This episode is brought to you by Olayinka Vitamins. Olayinka Vitamin Company is all about vitamins that's created for the black body. So if you're a melanated person, a black person, African person, whatever name or label you want to call yourself, brown skin, Nubian, goddess, or god, these vitamins are created just for you. So I'm going to play a quick commercial and then we're going to come back and talk more about how to communicate effectively with your spouse. So I'll see you in a little bit. African people, also known as black people, have a different nutrition requirement. Olayinka vitamins are created specially for the black body. Be sure to check the link and shop your Olayinka vitamins today. Vitamins are suitable for the entire family. Yay, and we are back. That was such a quick commercial break. Now, for you to get these vitamins, you'll just have to click on the link that's in the description box. At the end of this, I am also going to put it in the pinned comment outside of this live chat. For those of you that may be interested in earning income, extra income, you can also sign up with this company. But make sure you research them and you believe in what they're doing and that it's suitable to you and to your lifestyle. All right, so let's welcome back our guests. Okay, so let's get into the second segment all about how to effectively communicate with your spouse. And I'm going to ask you this because this is near and dear to my heart. Let's say a couple, they're on the brink of getting divorced. They're starting to fall out of love. At least they think they are. And there's just no real communication anymore. Like, what advice would you give them on bringing communication back into the marriage? Like, how can they communicate what they're feeling? Because sometimes it's really not hate. Maybe it's just resentment because they've locked certain feelings in there and there's no forgiveness. I don't know. Different situations, but how can people that are distant and they're going down the road of divorce bring it back with communication?
Yeah. So a few things come to mind. Definitely, the first thing is they have to think of they have to always have what I call HVR in the space. They always want to be honest. They want to be vulnerable, and they also want to be respectful. Okay. Now, once they agree that that's how they're going to show up, sometimes they don't have the words like you said. So a lot of times when I have clients that are at maybe a crossword where they don't know how to get the conversation started, or maybe they're just like at a resolved state, which is really unfortunate because once they get to that resolve, it's hard to bring the communication back. Well, one of the things that I've had clients do in the past is that they've given their partner a song that articulates how they're feeling as a way to kind of open the door, because sometimes they don't have the words, but songs do. And songs create a lot of emotion, a lot of vulnerability, a lot of expression that they may not have the strength to say. Once the song is out there and they've agreed to be honest, vulnerable, and respectful, then now there's a crack, a little bit of a crack. If they're able to, they can begin to ask questions. But if not, one of the things that I also ask my clients to do is start off. So let me go back. If the crack is open, ask questions. If there's still no space for them, then they can write a letter to each other, like literally a letter. And I say it's the heart to heart. Like, this is from my heart to your heart, of what I need you to know, what I need you to understand, that I just don't have the words. Because communication isn't just verbal. It's listening, it's body language, it can be written. So we have to use all of the methods that are available to us. So we write that letter. Again, we're trying to open a crack in the door a little bit. Once the door is open, there may have been some things in the letter that still triggered a lot of emotion, frustration, perhaps, sadness, resentment, you name it. One of the things that I always ask clients to do is start off by telling the person why they're having the conversation. So let's say that couple recognizes that they need to have the conversation. Why are they having it, and what do they want the outcome to be? So if I was talking to my love, and I was saying to him, you know, we're at a significant critical point in our relationship, I would say to him, you know, after he's heard the songs, after, you know, the love letters have been written, or the letters have been written, I would say the reason why I'm having this conversation with you is because I want us to have a peaceful resolution. I don't want us to let go. I feel like we still
oh my God, you're gonna make me cry. Yeah.
Because what we need to do is let our partner know our intentions. Let it be clear that it's a safe space to really talk about it. This is what I want. Before we talk about all the stuff, make it safe. Tell them why. What's the intended results you're looking for? Because sometimes what happens is people just start talking without helping the person to understand, what do you want from this conversation? Yeah. And don't be afraid to say what you need. I need you to see me. I need you to love me more. I need you to know that I'm still here despite the fact that you're not showing up for me. It's okay to say those things.
Yeah. Wow. Whew. For some reason that made me emotional.
I see, it got you emotional.
Yeah. You know, communication is so powerful and so necessary. I mean, so many misunderstandings could be avoided if we just communicate lovingly and efficiently, effectively. Oh, girl.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said two really important things there, creating a safe space. And that's something I talk about as well. And I would just love for you to share, how can we create a safe space? Because some people might be dealing with anger issues. And for those of you that didn't see the last episode that I did, is on anger management and ways to manage and master your anger. Go check it out. Just check out the playlist. There's different beautiful things that I share to help us to grow as a community. So check that out. But how do you create a safe space with someone that's just maybe angry or emotional? You know, anger is an emotion, but some people get emotional and that doesn't allow it to be a safe space. They might jump out and be like, but wait a minute now, you know, because people sometimes don't like to be responsible for their actions. They're looking at the blame game. Like, how do we create a safe space where we have all these other things happening? And then I was also going to ask about the love thing. You know, you said, okay, but you're not loving me enough. You're not showing up for me. But I understand that we all love differently. And I kind of had to accept that. Well, not kind of, I had to accept. We all show love differently. You know, the way I love you and express my love might be different from the way you express your love. And, you know, I just had to be allowing. Of course, I'm going to say what I like and I love, but I had to allow my partner to be who he is, because it's not my job or my role to change who you are, you know, and vice versa. Don't change me. I am who I am, and I stand strong on that. But at the same time, you know, there has to be a dance, a beautiful dance of balance between you and that partner.
Absolutely. That's so well said. You know, I would say a couple things. One is, you know, when we have a partner that's severely emotional or angry, and we're trying to have a rational conversation, there's a couple of things that you could do to make it safe. So one thing is you can establish boundaries together. Like, ask what do we both need to make this a conversation that's fruitful, that feels safe, right? And sometimes the first question you can ask after establishing the boundaries is ask them, what do you need right now? See, sometimes when we're communicating, we want to be heard so badly that sometimes we negate the space that our partner is in. So sometimes our partner doesn't have the full capacity to take in everything we have to say, male or female. And so I always say, ask your partner, what is it they need right now? We're getting ready to have a conversation. We've already talked about the boundaries, but what do they need? Maybe they need to hear something. Maybe they need a certain circumstance addressed. But whatever it is, I think if you ask them right away what they need, it says, I'm trying to check in on you. I want to hear what you have to say. I care about what you have to say. And speaking of that, part of making it a safe space is to do our best to leave our attitudes at home or leave our attitudes tucked away. Because again, no one wants to feel like it's safe. No one feels safe if they feel like they're going to be attacked, accused, projected upon. None of that adds a safe space. So I always tell people, make sure that you check your body language. Make sure that when you're making it safe, you don't accuse people. You don't do absolutes. You never help. You're not there. All of those kinds of words create triggers for what doesn't make it safe. So the best way to think of making a safe space is, if you wanted to feel heard and seen, what would you need? And most of the time, it's the same things that everybody else needs. Like, it's not difficult.
That's so true.
It's not difficult. No one wants to feel like, attacked, or, sometimes like, if I catch myself getting irritated in a conversation with my love and I feel my body shifting, I pay attention to how I'm showing up. And every now and again, he might say, like, you know what, you're not listening. You don't want to hear what I have to say. Or I'm good because you're not listening. And then I have to catch myself. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry. You're right. I just got triggered. Go ahead. I'm listening. And he might be like, no, I promise you I'm listening. I want to hear you. And I make it safe in my tone, but I also make it safe in my body language to say what you're saying is important. I may have got triggered. I may have kind of turned the situation a little left because we're human, but I'm going to get us back on track. And both parties can do that if they're dedicated to the communication.
I totally agree. And I laugh because I know what you mean with that. Like, wait a minute. And, it's all about paying attention to your mind, your body, your language. Because if you're not paying attention, you'll just let it rip, let it go without really being, whoa, check with yourself. So practice mindfulness. One of the things that can help you with that is just meditation, or it's just observing your thoughts. That quiet, still voice, that's you. Pay attention. That's all. You do that, you're on a much better path. So, hey.
Yeah. And, to your point, I love that, because one of the things I think also happens with communication is we do more damage than good. And I always like to say, if this is somebody you love and cherish and value, would you want to do something that could cause harm? And if you say no, then that's an incentive for you to work on your communication, because it's not easy. Sometimes when we're angry, we're triggered, we're frustrated, it's easier for us to just let it rip, because sometimes that's a familiar person. But oftentimes we take it out on that familiar person more than we would ever do to a stranger. And that's so backwards. True. It's like it's backwards. True. Like if this is somebody I value, why would I treat you like a person off the street just because I'm upset, or worse than the person off the street? Then that doesn't demonstrate that I value. And just because I'm angry doesn't mean I stop valuing you. It just means that I have to work on. And some of this, to be honest, now that we're like really talking more about it, part of good communication is excellent emotional intelligence. They go hand in hand, because the more emotional intelligent you are, where you can, be able to watch yourself and watch how you show up, females or males, the more you can use words and actions that create conversation and movement forward, or experience of moving forward versus repelling each other. Because a lot of times people don't know how to communicate, so it repels them.
That is so spot on. Totally. I mean, yes. You could not have said that better. Like, oof, girl. You are speaking to the choir.
Well, can I say one more thing that I think is
Of
really
course.
on my spirit too?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that help with communication and help, like that couple you were talking about earlier, that hypothetical question, the couple that's like potentially at a divorce,
The imaginary couple.
the imaginary couple that's out there, that's real. One thing I do that really helps on a regular basis, and I tell every couple I can listen that will hear me out to do this, and it's a small thing. So one of the things that me and my love do is we check in with each other, because sometimes we have experiences of uh micro upsets, I like to call them, or moments of dissidence, like something may have happened and it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a 10, but it was like a 2, and we let it go, and then before you know, we got all these 2s that go up to 4s, that go up to 6s, and we look up, we got a whole train of things that we ignored, that we didn't like or bothered us, and we never talked about it. So one of the best ways to help with communication is to check in with your partner. Make it safe. Make sure you're honest, vulnerable, and respectful, and then ask. So sometimes me and my
Mm-hmm.
partner may have a conversation, and it might have felt a little interesting, like a little different, and I'll go back and I'll say, is everything okay? Like, is there anything you need to tell me? Or he'll do the same to me. And that's our way of making sure we don't let these little micro infractions build. Because
Oh
when
my
they
God,
build,
that's
you look
powerful.
up and you don't like the person you are with, because you
Mm-hmm.
never addressed the things that bothered you, that frustrated you, that you might
Exactly.
not even understood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I see a question, actually more than one questions in the chat, and we'll get to it in a second because it kind of relates to what this person is saying in the chat. In the beginning of a relationship, in my opinion and in my experience, is the best time to set your boundaries and your foundation. I remember once my husband spoke to me in a way that I didn't appreciate. The old me, it would have been on, on. But the new me was like, honey, I heard what you said to me, but I think you could have said it in this way. I just didn't like that tone. I didn't appreciate it. And
Mhm.
he's like, oh, wow, you know what? Cool, thanks. Because I don't have the energy to argue. I decided that my relationship is going to be with love and with peace. Do we always agree? No. We
Mhm.
respectfully agree to disagree because I understand you're not always going to get my perspective and I'm not always going to get
Mhm.
yours. But do we have to
Indeed.
fight about it?
Indeed.
No, I got
Indeed.
time for that. I got enough gray hairs on my head. I don't
I
need no
love
stress.
it. Yes.
I
I
don't
love
need
it.
none of that. So
Mhm.
let's see. Savage asks, currently not in a relationship, but they're manifesting it. And may
I love
you find
that.
that divine right person for you. Don't ever settle. You know what you want. And be very, very specific with what you want. Meaning, like, if you want to make sure that that person can cook. I kind of forgot that part in my manifestation, but I still love my husband. I still love you, baby. So I'm just telling you from experience, be very direct. Like, you want him to cook, put that on your list.
I love
So
it.
anyway, she said, and welcome into the community, Savage. Thank you for subscribing, and to all the new subscribers, thank you. Welcome in. We're with love, light, just awareness, ways to heal naturally, and just information to keep your life just thriving. Okay, that's what we're all about. So welcome in to all my members. Thank you for being on this journey with me as a member. And you always know, if you ever want to go deeper with anything that I talk about on this channel, just let me know. We'll do a private Q&A session where we could really get into it and just, kind of be a little freer. There's no restrictions in the private sections. So Savage is like, okay, do you have any advice on a few questions, like maybe things you can ask a potential partner? And Savage, you should definitely take a look at the playlist because I did like some of the things that you should like ask and look for in a potential person that you want to get married to. That might be helpful, but I know Renee has way more to say than what I was able to pack into that stream. So do you have any advice for that?
Yeah. So I think it depends on at what stage you are engaging with the potential. So I'm going to give you questions for the very first exchange that intrigues them, if I can remember some of the great ones. And then some of the questions I think that'll be good for longevity. So I'm going to start with like in the beginning. So let's say you're getting to know someone right away and there are some key questions. One of the things I like to ask potential mates when I was dating, because I was a serial dater before I met my magical love, is I usually ask questions like, so what makes your heart smile? And I know that seems like an abstract question, but to me that question gives some great opportunity to kind of see what the person likes, how they interpret abstract questions, and how much they'll let you in on who they are and what their joys are. Because that also gives you a sense of the person's joy in their current state in their life. Because you want to meet people that are content in their life, or have some sense of joy. And so that's one of the questions. I think it'll help you to understand the healthiness of the person. So that's why I ask those types of questions. When you're actually with someone who's a potential person and you want to seriously see if you have something to work with, I think it's important to ask them how they like to be loved. Like, some people say it's the love languages, where I feel like there's some missing from that 5 love languages, but asking them how they like to be loved is really important. You can ask them, when do you feel loved the most? I also think it's important to ask them, what kind of relationship resonates with them. Like when they think about the kind of relationship they want, what is that? Get them to describe it, because then you're listening to see, does the kind of vision that they have for a relationship is the same? Does it coincide with your vision? Other questions I like to ask are, if you were to give 1 word or 3 words of what season you are in your life, what would that be? And get them to tell you, because again, you're listening for, are the seasons that they're in seasons that would connect with the season I'm in. So I hope those questions help. But they always have created deep and thought-provoking conversation. Yeah, it also shows if the person can be vulnerable.
I like how you got that. Girl, I love you. Oh my God, that was just like perfect. I'm like, I love it. No, she's really appreciating it. And yeah, I love those questions too. And it really ties into some of the things that I was saying on one of my chats before. You really have to, and please don't ask this on the first date. You're not interrogating this person, please. That will drive someone away. Correct. Feel the vibration. Don't just like, okay, check. No, you're not a robot. Get into the emotions and the vibrations of it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Someone might look good on paper, but then in other ways, you're just not vibing with them. So it has to be synchronicity. So it's just more than a checklist, okay? Correct. I'm just telling you, don't be robotic.
Correct. And questions like what makes your heart smile, men don't expect you to ask that.
This is a beautiful question. I love that question. They don't
expect it. And when you ask like that kind of question, they have to think, but they then get to talk about themselves. And you get to listen to see the depth of who he is, what he's passionate about. Like, and I've never asked that question so people not smile, because it's not intrusive. It's like, tell me who you are,
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful question. I love it. Just the question alone makes you smile. Like, you get all, because I think someone asked me that before and I'm like, oh my God, it just lights you up. It's a beautiful question.
It does. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh my God. So I'm glad I said that. This had me cracking up. She said, I'm glad you said that, because I was going to start asking right away, because I don't want to waste my time. Listen, don't see it as wasting your time. You're investing in you, and you're investing, don't see it like that. Don't make it about a race. Enjoy the process. Exactly. And in the meantime, get to know you better. Understand who you are, because when you understand that, you're in a better position to offer yourself to someone. This is who I am, and I'm not gonna waver and like, no, what you see is what you get. But I'm evolving this side of me. I'm always getting better. Every day I'm growing, I'm getting better. But this is me. This is how I show up in the world. So when you're like that, nobody can't twist and turn your arm and say, hey, no, you got to do it my way. No, 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 no. So get to know you as you're looking for your person. Okay. Don't think about it as wasting your time. I don't want to miss this question. There was a question that came in.
Can I add something real quick? 30 seconds about
While I look for the question, go ahead.
So powerful. I just talked to a client about the exact thing. I would also say, in addition to, I agree with you 3,000%. Don't look at it that way. I will also say, look at it as a mirror reflection, because the more you do work, you'll get a chance to see who's showing up in your life. And it'll help you to determine how you're thinking, because based on the men you're attracting, there's an opportunity for you to kind of take inventory of who's showing up in your life.
Totally. I mean, hey, and it's fun too. I mean, dating is fun. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad I'm not dating anymore. But when I did, it was kind of fun. It also went left on some dates. Well, I'm going to share like a horrible date experience. I'm laughing because it was hilarious. So I was invited out on a date. And I was like, okay, great. He looked good and everything. Why not? And as soon as I stepped out to go to the car, he started arguing with me. Like, why are you so dressed up? Oh my gosh. Because when I go out, I like to wear heels. Well, back then, now I don't care about wearing heels. So why are you so dressed up? And this comes back to communication. He wanted to take a stroll on the beach, and I was thinking we're going to dinner. So he didn't communicate that with me. So instead of just saying, oh, I wanted to take you, it's like, oh my God, why are you wearing that? You're so dressed up. I'm like, wait a minute. Right there and then I was like, yeah, this is not for me. I can't do this. Mind you, at that time, I didn't even fully know who I am yet. But I still went along and I went on the date. But I should have just said, you know what, goodbye. The me now would have said goodbye. But, it's all about communicating and, have fun. That was quite an experience. But he looked good. He was a good looking guy, but he was just too miserable. And like, who does that on a first date? Like, are you kidding me? So here's the next question. Yeah, big red flag. Can you make someone listen to you? Ooh, can you make someone listen to you? How can you make someone listen to you? That's a tricky question.
That's a tricky question.
It's a yes or no?
I don't think it's a yes or no. I would say, can you make someone listen to you? I think you can strengthen the chances for them to listen to you. Obviously you can't force anyone. If they don't want to hear you, they're not going to hear you. But I think you can create a better chance for them to be willing to listen to you. And that comes with using effective communication skills. And part of it is to make it safe and tell why you're intending to have the conversation. From tone, what you want the conversation, what's the outcome you would like. Make it being vulnerable. Like, one of the things that people don't realize is because people feel so scared to be vulnerable, but vulnerability opens up safe space. They just don't realize it. And so people are so busy trying to protect themselves. But if they recognize that being vulnerable was a way to give other people permission to do the same, there would be more effective communication. So no, you can't make them, but you can do certain things to give them more permission and safety to want to listen.
Totally. I agree with that. I mean, that was a tricky question. Like, whoa. Because it's like kind of like yes and no, but he showed me forcing people. If people want to listen, they'll listen. Am I going to tie you up and make you listen?
No, we put some headphones on them. I don't know. No.
What was the name of that movie? Misery?
It was Misery? Great question.
Yeah, but hey now. So, before we close out, and I know there's something I'm going to, invite you to share at the end, but I just want you to share a little more about your organization and, the next camp that you have coming up for anyone that might be looking to join your camp. I don't know if you have space because you're probably out of space by now.
Well, so we're not out of space at this point. So the love camp is exactly what we're talking about. It is, how do we do these things? How do we communicate effectively? How do we understand our partners better? The 7 factors of love, communication is one of them. So it's one of the key factors that we talk about. And our next retreat is coming up in June. So we have some time. And it's going to be in Savannah, Georgia. So it's Savannah, Georgia. It's couples only. We only have a limited space. So we only have enough space for, I think, 3 more couples. And it's intentionally kept small so that we can really be able to coach and train and have wonderful experiences that correlate to the curriculum. So everything that we do with our Love Camp retreats is designed to solidify the content. We start in seasons. So we start in the season of winter and you reflect on who you are and what you want. And then we move to spring and we help you co-create what it is that you want relationally. And then we actually do activities that go out and correlate with the curriculum so that we solidify what it is that you said you want. And so it's all about starting with self-love first and then moving our way through the 7 factors of love.
Yes.
So we are super excited. We're actually registering people now. As a matter of fact, we have some amazing things that are happening. We have a property that's going to be on the beachfront down in Savannah, Georgia. Ooh. And the culture of Savannah, if anyone knows, it's like a big African-American historical culture down there. And so it's a romantic city. And the idea is to bring the love energy into our work that we do while we're down there.
God, that's so
the retreat is the 22nd through the 25th of June.
3 days in June. June is a beautiful month for that kind of vibe. You know, they say June weddings and June brides. It's like a month of love. You got the Cancer energy in June. You know, it's perfect alignment. Oh my gosh. Brain teaser. Oh, here it is. The 7 factors of love. Someone just asked, what are the 7 factors of love? We know one is communication.
We have attraction, communication, vulnerability, honesty, trust, respect. And did I miss one? I think that's all 7. And safety.
Yes, safety is important. We want to be safe in love.
So those are the 7 factors, and we walk you through why those are the 7 factors, because we explain if one is out or 2 is out, how relationships start to unravel. So we need to be able to practice healthy ways of incorporating all 7 factors in healthy relationships. They are the foundation, and we do it wrapped inside of integrity. So we teach you how to be integral in all 7 factors.
I think that is beautiful, because without integrity, what is there? You know, everything else, it just crumbles. You have to have integrity. I love that. Oh my gosh. It's been such an honor, a privilege, and everything.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Before I let you go, I must ask you if there's anything that you didn't say that you would like to share. I don't know if you want to do a breathing session, whatever you'd like to do. I'll give you a solo spot and take as much time as you need or as little time as you need, and just share with the community whatever you would love to share. Also, guys, I'm so sorry I didn't mention this. You can find her on Facebook and on Instagram. Her information is in the description. I said that, but I didn't say what was in there. So you can join her Facebook group. You can also follow her Facebook page and follow her on Instagram. She needs to come over to YouTube as well. We'll see that.
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do.
Oh, good. I'll be on you about it then. Great.
We are connected for life. So I want to give 3 questions that I think your listeners would love to think about as it relates to creating healthy relationship. And this is incorporating all 7 factors. So one thing you want to ask yourself is, when you think about your relationships, what do you want to experience? Like, really give yourself permission to explore, what does your ideal relationship look like? Because that's one of the things we create when we're in the love camp. And then you want to ask yourself, who do you want to be in this relationship? Meaning, how do you want to show up? Oftentimes in my past marriage, I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel seen. I felt like I was serious. I didn't feel vulnerable. So none of those things showed up. And so when I created this new relationship, I was very intentional about who I wanted to be. I wanted to be almost childlike. And I get to do that because I was very clear on what I wanted to attract and who I wanted to be. And the last question you want to ask yourself is, what experiences do you want to have with your love? What do you want to do? Do you want to travel? Do you want to play? Do you want to love? Do you want to volunteer? Do you want to serve the community? Do you want to have conversation to the point where it feels life-giving? But what do you want to experience? What's missing? What do you need? The reason why I asked you guys to ask those 3 questions, because it will give you the anchor of co-creating the relationship you want. Some people have the relationships that they want for the most part, and they just need to tweak them. Some people are in relationships that are not working, and they need to really steer them in the right direction. And some people want to be in relationships and are not yet in a relationship. And before I got in a relationship, those are the 3 questions I asked myself to create the relationship that I have now. So I would definitely say, when you think about those 7 factors, consider them and consider what has been traditionally out in your life or what's been missing in your life, and use those questions to create the relationships you want. And I would say definitely connect with us, because I've been a certified coach for over 12 years, and my coaches are certified, and I've also been a trainer for over 25 years. We believe in not only just telling you go out and create it, but we show you how to do it. Thank you for having me today.
Oh my gosh, that was beautiful and powerful. I am so grateful for you, sis. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My audience are saying, can she please come back? So I didn't even have to ask you to come back. They're asking, so will you come back on the panel?
Yes, I would be honored. Anytime
yes.
You just say the word.
I definitely have to get you in the business channel as well to display, what you do in the business side of things, because we need more love coaches out there.
Yes, please. We need more foot soldiers for love. We are so excited about the Love Camp Academy is coming.
Yes.
Certified 2 coaches. We have international retreats. I didn't get to say that, but we have Tanzania coming up in October, and we have Bali coming up in December. So we have Savannah, Tanzania, and Bali.
Man, this is a great lifestyle career. Listen, guys, if you're interested in being a love coach, definitely connect. You get to travel. If you love traveling, you can do what you do to help people. And if you just naturally vibrate with love, this is for you.
Yes.
I just love that self-love vibe. And Dr. Destiny, welcome in, another beautiful member. Thank you for being here. This Dr. Destiny talks about this a lot. Self-love is so important, and this is something I had to learn. Like, I always thought I loved myself, but I didn't know how much I love myself. Like, listen, I learned to accept all sides of me, yes. Flaws and all.
Love
and I endorse me 100%. I allow myself to say I make mistakes, and it's okay. It's okay. I learn from it. Am I going to keep tripping over the same thing? No. I learn and I evolve. So y'all take that. I was going to mention one more thing before. Girl, your energy is so beautiful. I just want to keep talking to you. But I was going to mention the next topic that we have, guys, next week. Next Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to be talking about how to reignite the passion, the sex passion we're talking about in your relationship. And last time I talked about sex, I mentioned that communication in sex is important. You have to let your partner know how to please you. So if you have time and you want to join that panel, you're welcome to come on back. You don't have to be on for the entire thing, but if there's anything you want to come up and share, you're welcome to come and share, because sex is important. And some of us, we get shy about it. But listen, without it, you wouldn't be here. It is the source of your creation on the physical realm. It is your entrance into this world. So stop
Indeed.
being shy, embrace your sexuality. And I'm saying this with freedom because I had to release those chains off of me that came because of religious beliefs and, the upbringing that sex is so, the nasty, such a negative thing to such a beautiful thing. And, I had to, and I'm still releasing some of those images and some of those feelings and vibrations towards sex. And I always tell you guys, when I speak to you, I'm speaking to me as well. Sometimes the things I share is not just to encourage you, I'm encouraging me. I'm not sitting on the pedestal, oh, Charline is perfect, my life is... No, I got stuff happening, but you know what? I learned the tools to handle it. I see challenges as the way to evolve. I'm not saying I always want to be going through a challenge. Oh, hell no, I want to cruise too. But when it comes, I'm not going to be like, oh, God, why me? Why me? Oh, Lord, have mercy. No, I'm like, okay, what can I learn from this situation? How can I help myself and others through this? How can I evolve and teach others who might be going through this? You know what I'm saying? So I look at things from a selfless perspective, but I got to take care of me, self-love. So let me see if there's no other questions in the chat. We're going to close it out. I hope you guys had a wonderful Real Talk with Charline and Miss Renee here tonight. Remember, we're live every Monday. Well, I'm live every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, as long as my schedule allows. If anything is going to change, I always let you know in my community tab. So stay afloat. Thank you for everyone that contributes to the channel. I appreciate you. We're growing. So keep the love flowing. Renee, let's close it out with a bye.
Bye. Light and love to you.
Yes, light and love.
African people, also known as Black people, have a different nutrition requirement. Olayinka vitamins are created specially for the Black body. Be sure to check the link and shop your Olayinka vitamins today. Vitamins